Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another edition of Sit Downs with Charlie Brown. I'm your host, DJ Charlie Brown, as usual. And today we have a very special episode today, everyone. We have not one, not two, but three guests on for the first time in the show's existence. Would you boys care to introduce yourselves for the fine people out in viewer land?
Yeah, what's up, guys? My name is Hayden Lee, sports editor at the MSU Reporter. You know what I'm saying? Got to give some love to my boy Charlie.
Thanks, man.
I'm Luke Jackson, also a reporter employee. Yep, that's all you need to know.
This is Mohamed Warsame, sports writer at the Reporter. You know, bringing the vibes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So essentially, a while back ago, I worked with the Reporter, so I reached out like midsummer. I was sort of kicking around the idea of doing an NFL podcast episode, just because like I wanted to do more now that I've graduated from college, and at least attempt this a failing podcast career, as I like to call it. But other than that, I politely reached out to those three guys, and then this is how this idea sort of came together. So yeah. I getting it kind of right with that?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yes. I just hear.
Yeah, sorry, it cut out there. I didn't hear the last part.
Oh, it's basically just like this is how the whole idea. This is how this whole idea came together. I just I created this group text, and then just it sort of unfolded, and now that's why we're all here.
Oh yeah,
Yes, sir.
NFL always brings us together.
And we're just homies.
Yep.
Come on now.
Charlie,
Yeah.
I love you, bro.
I love you
Charlie.
too. I love you too, guys. I definitely am looking to try and go visit back in Mankato, hopefully soon. So yeah. Yeah.
We need a hockey writer.
Yeah, I trust me. I don't know if I'm ready for writing college hockey. So yeah.
What's your favorite part of the summer so far?
So far, my favorite part of the summer is just like I've been working. I've just been chilling. Like it's really just been enjoying myself right now. That's about it. Here's the thing. I actually did go to a Vikings training camp, like just one that was open to the public. So yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Which one did you go to?
I went. It wasn't like it was just like one of the beginning ones where it was still like just kind of. It was just still kind of the open workouts. So.
Oh, okay. I was gonna say because I went to the family night.
Oh
like
yeah,
last
yeah,
week.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
It was like $10. I was like, come on,
yeah.
that's way too cheap for me not to go.
Mm-hmm.
So
Indeed, because
yeah.
the NFL is a machine that keeps on pumping money, man. So yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
no offseason.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So pretty much, yeah. So one of the big reasons I wanted to get you four on is because not just you're my homies, but I think all four of you are definite sports heads like myself. So I wanted to kind of, just sit down and mostly kind of like with the NFL season, like I figured like it was a good idea, especially for you four, because I think like most of the time when we were at the Reporter, if it wasn't like local stuff or like with Mankato, it was mostly just like current sports or just like me trying to hype up the Vikings as I usually do. So yeah.
Yeah, it was.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
They can attest to that. So yeah. So I sort of did come with notes this time around. I know, very shocking, even though I sometimes overplan for these episodes. So yeah,
There's no such thing.
Yeah. So pretty much the NFL offseason has been rather interesting. Nothing, I wouldn't say like there hasn't been anything game changing. Like the only thing is apparently the league now just hates running backs. That's about it. So yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, because like I know like personally like my thoughts on it is this. Like I personally think like it depends on the running back when it comes to like giving them a big name contract. Like for me, I'd say like if you're like Saquon Barkley, Christian McCaffrey, Nick Chubb, those are the type of running backs that I feel like okay, yes, they deserve to be paid a lot. But there are also cases where there's guys like Austin Eckler, or like I'm trying to think.
Josh Jacobs.
Josh Jacobs. Like there are guys who really are like who have always been like at the middle of the pack in terms of running back who have really been like 1 minute they're good, the next they're bad. So that's just sort of where my stance is, because like I even said, like and I'll get more into this with the Giants, I would not have given that contract to Daniel Jones, because here's the thing. Because here's the thing. While Barkley's had injury issues, one of the big things he's needed for the biggest part of his career is an offensive line. You give him that, he's going to start cooking. And the fact that this was the first year he had one, and you're now seeing, oh yeah, that's why he was the second overall pick.
Yep. And that comes with Josh Jacobs too, like you said. I think he's one of those dudes in the same tier as Saquon Barkley. But Josh Jacobs hasn't shown us, apart from his contract year, that he can be like the top dog. And I think that's a big reason why he doesn't get paid. Yeah. And you can say the same for Saquon due to injury. But these guys all have so many different red flags that keep you from paying them.
Yeah.
I guess you could point to Jonathan Taylor too.
Yeah.
But I don't really know what his drawback is. I don't know why the Colts wouldn't pay that guy.
I know, because, like, here's the thing. Like, I figured he'd want to be paid because, like, he's probably been, like, one of the best running backs the Colts have had since, like, what, Eric Dickerson or something? I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You ain't getting shit out of Vic Ballard.
Yeah. So, yeah.
For me on the Giant situation, I think you got to think back to a year ago. There's a reason they didn't pick up Daniel Jones' fifth-year option, you know, because he didn't do anything the first 3 years of his career. So to go off one season where he was good, but a lot of it was he was basically a running back at quarterback, you know what I mean? And so he didn't do anything passing the ball. Granted, they didn't give him any weapons, but I just think the running back situation as a whole is just situational, because just going back to Jonathan Taylor as well, for him, that makes no sense whatsoever, because you have a rookie quarterback on a rookie contract that is very raw in Anthony Richardson. Why not give him one of the league's best running backs? You know, it just makes no sense.
And it's not like they're asking for like Lamar Jackson or top tier being the highest paid player in the NFL. Like, I think even if you gave him like bridge deals, that would have been a better solution than just saying not paying them at all. So
yeah, like Saquon's contract that he did sign, the 1 year, 12 mil, was barely even more than the franchise tag. I think it was like $300K in bonuses that he can work up to.
Yeah.
So these guys are really setting themselves up to either not get paid, or if something happens, who knows? Maybe they'll get a big bag in the offseason. But I think most running back contracts are probably not going to exceed like the 8 mil, 10 mil mark.
Yeah.
In terms of long-term deals.
Yeah, because I feel like nowadays people would much rather. The game has evolved into being more centered around the quarterback, which is a good thing and a bad thing essentially, which is making it sort of fade out, especially with like the age of mobile quarterbacks, you know.
Yeah. 100%. And like Mohamed said, with Daniel Jones playing running back at quarterback, like that carries some value, and that's, I think, part of the reason he got the $40 million he did. Like those guys, like Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen, like they don't have high-paid running backs on their team because they are a running game in themselves.
Yeah,
like you can handle that running back by committee because they do so much on the ground for you anyway.
Yeah, but I think it also there's the risk of injury factor with those. So I feel like it's sort of like a double-edged sword. Like, it's a good thing, but a bad thing. But overall, I just think it's a really weird situation to be in going into the new season. So yeah,
it's one that we could have seen coming based on the contracts of like Zeke and we'll say McCaffrey, but McCaffrey was.
I feel like the thing is with the Niners though, like they are so loaded on offense, they don't need McCaffrey. He was just a trinket they picked up, and it was like, oh, he works. So it's like, that's sort of the thing. Because I think, realistically, he wasn't going to do much with Carolina. And I feel with the Niners, like, right now, this is probably their best window, just because you got 3 options at quarterback, all who are low risk, high reward. And with that offense, you can essentially... it's essentially like throwing the keys to a teenager and letting him drive around a Ferrari. That's what it is with them.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. But I don't know if you're trying to segue that into Jordan Addison, but I don't know if I like where this is going.
Yeah, yeah. Anyway, yeah.
So no, but I feel like if McCaffrey hadn't been traded to the 49ers, I don't think we're having the same conversation. I feel like McCaffrey 100%. Would be one of the guys that you're like, shit, why did we pay him if he was still on the line? Because his contract is $16 million a year. That is more than Saquon's deal. That's, I think, is it the highest paid running back in the league?
It's still.
I don't think we've gotten creative.
Yeah, it still is because I think with Carolina they signed that deal thinking like we aren't going to because they signed that deal like immediately after Cam Newton left, and it's like they needed to pay him because he was their whole offense, even if he did.
For the franchise too,
yeah. They needed a franchise QB at the time, and they needed some form of offense. So.
Well, like Hayden said, he's right. Last year, going into last year, in the beginning of the year, because he was really injury prone the last few years before the second half of last season, and he was one of these guys that you're looking at saying, why'd you pay this running back? You weren't going anywhere. Just had a bad roster. Doesn't help you, but the Niners, it helps them because, like you said, they have a loaded offense, one of the best play callers in the league, and they have very cheap salaries at the quarterback position, so they can rip with those kind of contracts right now.
Yeah, so I figured transitioning out of that, I figured we can get into like, some of the sort of like our rankings we have. I did mine in a weird way. Like I have a bunch of notes and just sort of like ranked about the general location of where I think each team ranks up. So AFC East, I still think it's the Bills. Like, I mean, what else is there to say? Like, Allen's probably going to be gunning for an MVP this year. Like the defense, Leslie Frazier, I don't know if him stepping away is helpful, but yeah.
I can tell you when we lost Leslie Frazier, he helped us a lot.
Exactly. It could be addition by subtraction at this point. So yeah.
That's not fair to Leslie.
That's not fair to him. But, he does way better in his defensive coordinator role. So I feel like he was a good coordinator.
Yeah. So the Bills, I have taken that division. For me, I
would agree with you, but I don't think it's a landslide.
Yeah,
I think the Dolphins put up a fight. I think they get off to a strong start, and I think that once they get Jalen Ramsey back, they could really roll.
I think my biggest concern with the Dolphins.
And then three. Everyone but the Pats. So he's super. But I don't see the Jets taking first. I don't even know if I can see them taking second either.
I see the Jets taking second.
Yeah, I have them in the wild card. I just think, like, here's the thing. It's the equivalent of a boys' club because Aaron Rodgers just signed a bunch of his old buddies. But here's the thing. I think realistically, Miami, I have concerns about their offensive line just because it's like their best player on that unit is Teron Armstead, and he's sometimes is working, sometimes isn't, and that's the issue.
Yeah, he just hurt 2 games the last 2 years.
Yeah, and then the Pats, they're weirdly built. Like, I don't know where to put them because it's like, what makes you think bringing in an aged Zeke who looked out of shape is going to help you win this season?
No, I think everyone can agree the Patriots.
That's a terrible pickup. I cannot believe Bill Belichick agreed to pick
up. He's a great blocker. Leave him alone. Okay? Leave Zeke alone.
I think that seems more like it was Robert Kraft who pulled that string, not Belichick.
Definitely. I mean, the Pats have such low name value on their roster. A guy like Zeke's going to bring them some publicity, and I don't think Zeke's as bad as like he has been in the past few years, especially splitting the backfield with Ramondre Stevenson. Like, low-key, they have like one of, if not the best running back rooms in the NFL with Zeke now.
Is Damian Harris still there?
No, he's on Buffalo.
Yeah, Harris is in Buffalo.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I didn't even know that.
Yeah. So they got J.J. Taylor and Pierre Strong are behind them, and they're not really shit, but like they got some depth, they got guys with experience. So I think if somehow they can get their ground game going like the Ravens did a few years back, they could make some noise. But then again, I still can't see them getting out of the cellar or third place. I cap them at third.
Yeah.
I think the reason I'm not so high on the Dolphins this year, I think they'll compete and they'll maybe compete for a wild card place, but Tua, we know his injury concerns. That's the main thing.
Mm-hmm.
And then outside of Tyreek and Jalen Waddle, they don't have, I think something like 64, 66% of their passes last year plays were to Tyreek or Waddle. And they're so reliant on those. What if one of them gets injured? You guys mentioned the offensive line. I think Tua, he got very lucky on like interceptable throws last year, and where he throws most is that sort of medium deep range in the middle of the field. I think teams will adjust to that. You saw like the two teams that did last year, the Niners and the Chargers, when they did that, he really struggled. And so the counter to that is running the ball, and I think that's what Mike McDaniel will do in San Francisco. That's what he was known for, the running game. I think he'll do that to sort of help Tua out, to help the offensive line out. But I just think there's a lot of change going on there. And so in the defense, they got Jalen Ramsey, but they gave up a lot of points and big plays last year. So
I think to counter that in a way, they have some dogs at running back. They have Jeff Wilson. Jeff Wilson was a beast when he was used in San Francisco. He pissed me off so much when I had Tevin Coleman and Raheem Mostert on my team. But now they got him. They got Raheem Mostert. They have Devon Achane, who they took in like the third round, I think. And he is a burner. Like he is a fast dude. So I'd watch out for him in like the final stretch of the year. He's gonna put up some points. He's gonna get more involved as the season goes on. And also they have Chosen Anderson, Robbie Anderson. He changed his name, so might not really recognize him on the roster, but he's got some speed too.
Wasn't he considered like a locker room cancer in like Arizona or something? I don't know.
But he was, but so was Jalen Ramsey and Eli Apple, so they're gonna have a field day in the
That is true. All right. Yeah. So transitioning gears, the AFC North. I'd say for me, out of this division, I have Bengals winning, Ravens in the wild card. Browns, I think they'll be better than last year. Like, I know opinions about Watson are your opinions about Watson. But I feel like the Browns, they got a nice little roster. They got Chubb, they got Myles Garrett, who's a monster. They have a lot of great talent. I think that if they could click, they might be able to slip in. But right now, I just kind of have them on the out looking in. And Pittsburgh, I feel like they're in a bit of a year of retooling. I don't think they're in a transitional period. Like, I think they'll be decent. Like, I don't think they are going to be like a tanking team, but I think they'll be like, I think they'll at least put up some fight, but I don't think they can walk away with a bunch of wins this year. So,
I pretty much agree with what you said. I don't think there's really any debate from like a perspective now. Because as you see it, I mean, the Bengals have been that top dog in their division for the past few years. And Joey ain't slowing down besides his calf injury, but once he gets my calf, he'll be fine. So. And the Ravens are the Ravens. They'll do their thing. They'll make the playoffs and they'll lose, but they're going to hang around. And I mean, the Browns are an interesting team, though. Like, they could do so. They could be the division winner. They could win 15 games if everything clicks and Deshaun Watson's I'd say borderline top 3 QB like he was in the league before he did what he did. If we see that guy, they're going to be a dangerous team because they picked up Elijah Moore. They got Amari Cooper already. They got Nick Chubb. Like they got some talent on offense. Their defense is phenomenal. So if everything clicks right for the Browns, they got a good year ahead of them. But the Browns hype has been so it's been a headache to follow.
Yeah.
If you really are actually sticking up for the Browns. Yeah. So I think your rankings are spot on.
Yeah.
Yep, I agree with that. I think the Ravens are going to be really fun this year. You get Lamar Jackson back.
Yeah.
You get Odell, Zay Flowers. I think now he has, for the first time since he's been there, a real receiving group. New coordinator, everything. Just got a healthy Lamar Jackson. Lamar Jackson has a long-term contract, so he doesn't have anything to worry about. The tension is gone, so I think they're going to be really fun, but I still think the Bengals are the top dog of that division. Joe Burrow, hopefully that calf injury doesn't linger, but that's the only concern I have. But
yeah, I definitely think the Bengals are going to win, but then I think you can never ever count out the Steelers. Facts. I think the Steelers will always be lingering, and I think they'll win a good amount of the division games. I think Kenny Pickett's going to have. I think he's going to be better, a lot better this year.
Mm-hmm.
George Pickens.
Yeah, George Pickens might go crazy this year.
He's more talented than Justin Jefferson, as
Yeah.
you heard
Apparently-
Ryan Clark say.
Yeah. Here's the thing, though. I'm cautious with George Pickens because the past few years when it came to Steelers wide receivers, they haven't had a good track record. Martavis Bryant, Antonio Brown, Juju. Juju's been like the only normal one, but he also did have that TikTok thing in 2020. So.
Claypool.
Oh yeah,
Forgetting
Claypool
Chase
was a
Claypool.
massive diva. So.
Yeah,
Say
dude.
Johnson.
Yeah.
Normal.
I haven't heard.
He's a normal
He's
dude.
Johnson.
Yeah,
He's a normal dude.
yeah. All
We
right.
need to wait on George Pickens. We know
Always a great wide receiver room too.
Yeah.
Like all those guys you just named are great. We're great at one.
They
point.
got Calvin Austin too.
Oh yeah,
Don't forget about him.
Calvin Austin.
He
Yeah.
could really step up this year. He's a
Mhm.
burner too.
Yeah. So next team, AFC South. I think it's cut and dry. I have the Jags taking it because I think, like, they're the team with the most optimism right now. Tennessee's in limbo. Houston's rebuilding, and so's Indy. So I think it's kind of cut and dry of who I think is.
Yeah, it's
taking
just
that.
Jags by default.
Yeah.
You know,
default.
the rest of them literally have rookie quarterbacks. Like, I'm not expecting much out of the Colts or the Texans, but I mean the Titans, dude. Like,
they'll compete.
you have to
You
at
got
this
to.
point, and
So yeah.
like they got Dia, they got Derrick Henry, you know, so they are pushing. You know,
Mm-hmm.
they're pushing for whatever it is that they can take.
Yeah.
Which
Mike Vrabel's always showing up too.
Mm-hmm.
Such a good, like one of the greatest.
yeah, they're fighting an uphill battle right now too because Traylon Burks just got carted off in
Yeah.
practice a few days ago. Mhm.
Yeah.
So their receivers are really thin, but I mean they always have been. I can't tell you how many times I've
I
been watching
think
for Derrick Henry for a
Dude.
touchdown and Nick Westbrook-Akeem fucking catches the touchdown and I get pissed.
Their
You know?
defense, man. Their defense, Jeffrey Simmons, that dude's a beast. That dude's a straight up
Mhm.
beast. So,
And you know, everybody always forgets about Kevin Byard, but I got to show him some love. He's
Yeah.
one of the best safeties in the NFL. You don't know until you play the Titans or you see the Titans on TV
Yeah.
how good Kevin Byard actually is.
yeah. So,
So yeah,
yeah.
For me, the only thing worth talking about in this division is the Jags. Like, for me, I don't even think about them from competing in the division standpoint. I think of from AFC big picture. Like, what can they do? I think Trevor Lawrence this year, everyone sort of recognizes him as a superstar in this league. I think people were so quick to jump off of him his rookie year when he had freaking Urban Meyer as his coach.
Yeah, I feel like
And-
last
Yeah.
last year was a massive indictment on Urban Myers because here's the thing.
Yeah.
You bring in Doug Peterson, a guy who's actually coached in this league, and he's able to fix this entire thing. Like,
Yeah.
do I think he's the answer? No, but I think for right now, he's the right coach to help get Lawrence comfortable and help maybe get some fight back in this team. So
100%. People like Trevor Lawrence wasn't the most talented quarterback we ever seen since Peyton Manning. So like, he's
yeah,
a generational talent, and you give him a good coach like Doug
Mhm.
Peterson. They have now Calvin Ridley to add to the team. Like the way he was scheming up last year, getting receivers like wide open, it was crazy. Like he had the fourth highest wide
Yeah.
open window rate in the league last year. Like
Mhm.
so, like that's Dougie P. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I think Jacksonville's going to be really, really good this year.
all
some
right.
progression from Evan Ingram last year helped him a lot.
Mhm.
He's actually worth being a Pro Bowl tight end, not like a couple of years ago. He's catching passes. Guys like him, Christian Kirk, who we all thought was a massive overpay, his contract's starting to look better. They got
Yeah.
ETN. They got, Calvin Ridley coming back. He's looking awesome in training camp.
Mhm.
Robinson,
Running back.
he's not on the team.
He-
No,
He got
traded
cut.
mid-
He got
Yeah.
traded to the Jets and then got cut. He's
Jets.
out the
Oh
league.
my God, you're right.
He got cut. He signed with the Patriots and got cut before training camp even ended.
Yeah.
Robinson, he was a good story, but
Yeah.
poor dude.
So, yeah.
Hey, guy.
Sort of keeping on track here. AFC West, Chiefs by default. I do have
Yeah.
the Broncos in the wild card because I think now that you actually have.
You're on stuff.
Are you kidding? Like here, hold up. Here, let me say this right now. First off, the Raiders, you're tanking. Stop it. Admit that to yourselves at first, okay? So
Nah, dude,
Got Jimmy G to win. He wins game.
that's right.
no.
Nah, keep talking. We're just fucking.
So yeah, Chiefs I have by default winning the division. The reason why I said the Broncos is because here's my thing with the Chargers. Yes, they have the super duper like sexy offense and all and whatnot. My issue is this.
Right.
You don't recover from a loss like that they suffered against the Jags, okay? They needed to fire Brandon Staley after the game. They didn't. And I feel like I could literally, last season, I could point to 5 instances in which his idiocy kind of cost them games. Prime example was the final game of the season when he got Mike Williams injured. So.
Oh, gosh. Yeah. No, I agree with you. But I think after a full offseason and just like more progression out of those dudes, I mean, they are like injured a lot. So if they get some healthy dudes going into the season, they're going to build up some chemistry. They're going to win some games early, and they just got to make it to the end. They got to make it to the finish line.
Yeah.
And if they get into the playoffs healthy, they're a dangerous team.
Yeah.
And I can't say that about the Broncos. Like,
because
we saw
here's the
all
thing.
those guys. They're limping into the season. Javonte's barely going to play. Samaje's a good dude, but he's not Javonte.
Yeah. I mean, here's the thing. I can be either way, but I don't think like I feel like when I'm looking at coaching standpoint, I think Sean Payton is could do a much better job than Brandon Staley at the current moment. So that's just.
I agree with you on Brandon Staley. I think he's made a lot of mistakes, but I think the bigger issue was Joe Callahan, the OC, and now they got Kellen Moore in the building.
Yeah.
He's a massive upgrade. Obviously, as a Cowboys fan, I think he's one of the best up and coming coordinators in the league. He will be a head coach soon in this league. That's a massive upgrade. He has his flaws. That's a massive upgrade. I mean, Joe Callahan is one of the most idiotic offensive coordinators I've ever seen.
Yeah.
You know, like you talk about that comeback. Large parts of it was because of him. Every first down, the whole world knows it's a run. You know what I mean? Every single time.
Mm-hmm.
And so, I think you say by default. I think it's going to be close. I think the Broncos will be better, but I don't think Russell Wilson is good anymore. He might be a bit better.
Yeah.
I just don't think he's anymore. So I think that's why Denver will be 3, and then the Raiders. Jimmy Garoppolo will get injured sometime this season, and the rest of the story. Josh McDaniels is a crap head coach, and they'll finish last.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm right. I couldn't have said it better myself.
Yeah. So yeah. Now Mohamed, we're getting to the NFC East. For this,
sir.
I feel like we can all agree Eagles have won just because like
No, sir. No, cannot agree.
Here's the thing. They essentially assembled the championship Bulldog team and are probably going to run through this dang league like it's nothing. And I think it was wise for them to extend Jalen Hurts. I feel like they're going to be destroying the league this year. And we play them week 2. Congratulations, just us. So, yeah.
Hey.
Let me tell you why that's not going to be the case, Charlie. Yeah. I will convince all of you. Okay?
It's the Cowboys.
No. Can I just finish up for a sec? So, hot take. I have the Commanders at 2 because I feel like here's the thing. Yes, they have some question marks, but Dan Snyder's finally gone. He's finally not meddling in this team anymore. So that's a big positive. So, and then Giants I had at 3rd because it's the Daniel Jones thing. Just because like, explain to me how paying him after one good season is going to help you. Exactly, Lee. And then I have the Cowboys at 4th. So, sorry, Mo. Care to fight me, boys?
Yeah,
Charlie, you're crazy. You're crazy for that. But I have a hot take, too, though. I think Giants are taking 2 and Eagles are taking 1.
Okay.
3 is going to be the Cowboys.
I'll let Mohamed talk.
But ain't no way the Commanders are taking 2.
That's crazy,
okay, here's
Charlie.
the thing. If the Commanders do it, I will prepare for roasting, all right? But other than that, I will accept all the punishments afterwards. So come at me. So yeah.
Let me say why the Eagles won't win the division first of all, because I'm gonna ignore the Commanders, because that's just ludicrous. Okay. Okay. The Eagles. First of all, they lose their offensive coordinator, right? Shane Steichen, the guy who developed Jalen Hurts, large parts, credited to him. If you remember Nick Sirianni, when he was calling plays for Jalen Hurts, they were not that good. Halfway through the year, Shane Steichen takes over. And then last year, full season of Shane Steichen, the season they had. Now, I'm not saying he's the only reason for that. Obviously, Nick Sirianni is a big part of the game plan and stuff. So they'll still be good. But their new offensive coordinator, He's very inexperienced. I think he only called plays in college for a season, but he does have like a long relationship with Jalen Hurts. So like knowing him obviously for that long will help.
Mm-hmm.
So I still think they'll be really good. But I think in large part, another big reason why they were so good last year, especially in the regular season, is just look at the quarterbacks that they faced last year. Really, really bad quarterbacks. And so they only played two, I consider like really good quarterbacks apart from Aaron Rodgers, who had a bad year last year. Dak and
Kirk Cousins and Patrick Mahomes.
No, Dak and Patrick Mahomes. And you look at the numbers.
That's crazy.
You look at the numbers Dak put up, and if you look at the game that the Cowboys beat the Eagles in, Dak had a crazy game, and in the Super Bowl, Patrick Mahomes had a crazy game. Every other quarterback they played was either not good or a backup quarterback, or just Aaron Rodgers having a down year. So I think that's the reason for the Eagles not winning the division. Why the Cowboys will win the division? It's quite simple.
Mute your headphones.
It's quite simple. Dak Prescott will be healthy this year. His last 2 healthy years, he threw for 31 touchdowns, 4,000 yards, and the other one, I believe, 33.
Not forget he'll be throwing less than 10 interceptions.
Again, hey, Charlie, I have a question for you.
What up?
Do you think that interception prone?
Yes.
You're not doing this.
Do you think really? Hayden,
okay, if this is going to be a whole argument, we're moving on, man. All right?
Huh?
If it's going to be a whole argument, I'm going to move on. Just...
Whoa, we need to hear this. We need to hear what Mohamed needs to say.
All right, just speaketh, my friend.
I cut off your Dak Prescott take.
No, you want to hear an interesting stat, Charlie?
Sure.
So, PFF's turnover-worthy throws?
Yes, the most useless stat available?
Actually very useful because it gives you a long range of plays. It gives you consistency of what a quarterback's play actually is, right? Because there's a lot of variant interceptions. And so, like, the league-wide percentage is 77% of interception-worthy throws that actually get picked. Last year, Dak Prescott had 88%, which is absurdly high. Throughout his career as well, he's only thrown 11, 10, around those. I think those are the highest years where he's had picks. Last year he had 15. That's not him. Since he's got into the league, 9 picks of his have been dropped balls. That's by far the highest in the league. So, like, it's just an absurdly unlucky year that he had. You look at someone like Tua, for example, who had really lucky in that department. I think he was the 4th highest in terms of interception-worthy throws that didn't get picked. So you know what I mean? It varies from year to year. So that's why I think last year's numbers were high in the turnover department, and that won't happen. It'll come back down, too. Because the mean was around 10, maybe 11 picks.
All right.
Okay. I mean, I can agree with that in the sense that he's not the most turnover-prone guy. But also, how many times has Dak Prescott been the reason that the Cowboys win games, that they've made it far in the playoffs, which they haven't?
To be fair, I will give him credit. The last 2, maybe not so much were him, but more on Kellen Moore getting too idiotic with the play calling. Last season, you put Zeke at freaking center when he's at the running back, and the year before, you decide to run a QB draw with no timeouts. That is
the one reason why I think we may not win the division if we don't win, because Mike McCarthy's calling plays and he hasn't play called in years, and that's actually terrible.
Yeah, that's
the only thing.
That's what Cowboys fans should fear.
That's the reason why.
All right. So, any other comments about the East?
Nah, man, the Commanders are exciting, but I can't see them at 2.
Okay, that's fine. That's my opinion, but it is what it is, you know. Hey.
I'm gonna be so happy if you're right. I'll be one of the happiest NFL fans if the Commanders are in second.
Yeah.
I hate every team that did.
The Commanders,
besides the Command.
Yeah, especially now that they're owned by Josh Harris and Magic Johnson. So yeah, but all right, NFC North. So here's the thing. In this division, I have Minnesota at 1, but I can also see the argument for Detroit fighting us for that division because, you know, that apparently they're the talk of the town, essentially. The reason why I have them is because the Jameson Williams suspension, I think, hurts them a little bit. Just because the 6 games he's out, it's Kansas City, Atlanta, Green Bay, Tampa Bay, Seattle, and Carolina. At minimum, like, I think there's 4 of those are winnable, 2 aren't. So I think it's like... at minimum it's 3-3. So I don't know. And then
Yeah. Keep talking.
And then I have Chicago at third, just because as much as there's a lot of hype, Fields needs to really step it up, and plus it's still year 2 of the official rebuild. So yeah, and then I have Packers in fourth because as much as people want to say that the Packers are going to somehow get number 3 in terms of Hall of Fame quarterbacks, I don't see it with Love. Sorry. Here's the thing.
Yeah.
And plus their defense is also suspect because who exactly is playing safety on this team?
For the Packers?
Exactly. Yes, because besides Darnell Savage, there's really no one else because they let go. Amos is with the Jets now, so.
Yep. Yeah. The Packers have their issues. Their issues are offense. Their defense has been one of the top units in the NFL.
Yeah.
And they're going to be fine on that end. Jordan Love is a question mark, but he's a question mark that could either lead them to 6-11, or I could see them being as good as 12-5 if Jordan Love really steps in and can flourish like Rodgers had, like Favre had, for no good reason at all other than the fact that they play for the Packers.
Mm-hmm.
But I do see the Vikings taking this division, and I don't think it's particularly close. I think that the Bears need to see something out of Justin Fields.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise, I think they should just bench him, tank for the year, get the number 1 pick, and use it this time on Caleb Williams or Drake May or whoever it may be.
Yeah.
With the Lions, they got Goff. He's a solid option for now. They got to start looking toward the future. He's not going to be there if they want to be in their window. Their window is now, and it's going to close in the next few years if they don't play their cards right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the Vikings are going to take 1, and I think it's going to come down to pretty much Kirk versus Goff, honestly.
Yeah.
And I think Kirk's going to win that one out. I think we'll take the division in week 16 or 15. I think it's going to be a really close battle with Detroit. It might come down to the very end. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
But then I think I wouldn't be surprised if both the Packers and the Bears are around 500, honestly. I think for a while we've been on the short end of the stick for the divisions, and I think right about now even the Packers are declining, but I think our division's going to start getting stronger again.
Yeah.
Like it used to.
Yeah.
And I honestly don't think Jordan, the Packers are a winning program. They have a questionable coach, but even though they don't have amazing coaching anymore like they might have had in the past, or a Hall of Fame quarterback, I think Jordan Love is going to be, I think he's capable of being a 500 guy,
mm-hmm.
like a guy like Jared Goff, where if he has a good team around him, he's going to win. I don't think it's going to come down to just him.
Yeah.
I think that's kind of stupid if you think that. But,
yeah.
And then I think the Bears could surprise a lot of people, or they could win 3 games again.
I have them.
Not 3, but 5.
I see at max they're like a 6-win team. That's kind of where I have them at right now. So, yeah.
I mostly agree with Luke in terms of how he broke down the division, but I'm going to go for the Lions to win. I think the difference maker, I think Kirk is better than Goff, but I don't think he'll have as good a year. I don't think their passing game will be as big of a threat as it was last year. They had some absurd turnover luck. I think it was their best turnover year, less turnovers
mm-hmm.
that they've had in 20 years. Their red zone efficiency was their best in, I think, since 2000 or something. So some of that stuff will, average, they'll come back down a bit, but I think their game will be really good. Their offensive line is special, man. It's so special. So I think their offense will be really good, and their defense can't be as bad as it was last year at times. Yeah. That's why, and I think they slightly take it.
Mm-hmm.
I think the Vikings will have a strong improvement in the defense, even though we have less big names. I think we'll be more conjoined together. Which
the Ed Donatell shell defense is no longer going to be involved in any team or organization now.
I think these younger guys are going to be flying around. They might make some pretty big mistakes because they're young, but I think they're going to be faster than we have been. I think we're going to be quicker. We might not be as smart, but I think we're going to get to the ball.
Yeah.
Have some big hits. I think Brian Flores is going to be good for us. I don't know. I think if our offensive line stays healthy, I think it might be scary. If they're not healthy, I think we're screwed.
Yeah.
I think I got 2 players to watch out for this year from the Vikings. The first one is on the defensive end. He's a rookie, UDFA. That's Ivan Pace. Probably heard a lot about him in training camp. He just took over the starting Mike linebacker spot, the play caller on defense from Brian Asamoah. He's moving his way up the depth chart. He's going to make the roster. He's going to start, and he's going to be a tackle machine. He's going to be someone that can keep up with players in coverage when Eric Kendricks couldn't last year. I can't tell you how many times I saw that man's fucking hair when some running back like Tony Pollard's running down the sideline. Eric Kendricks is 20 yards out of 24. And then on offense, I got Josh Oliver as one of the reasons that the Vikings will be a top 5 offense, because Josh Oliver brings blocking. He is a huge dude. He's a good blocker, one of the best graded run blockers at the tight end position last year. And he's playing number 2 tight end behind TJ Hawkinson. Our tight end room is what's going to propel our offense into the top 5 in the league. And I think that's a guarantee at this point with guys like, obviously, Justin Jefferson, KJ Osborne's a dog. And then Jordan Addison, he's going to be flying around.
I think too, we're going to have I think our special team's going to be great. We have one of the best kick returners, and whatever his name is, can't pronounce it.
Kene Nwangwu.
Oh, really?
Kene Nwangwu.
Oh, really? And then second, our punter is
Ryan Wright, baby. Ryan Wright.
That dude bailed us out so many times last year, I feel like.
Dude, week 4 against the Saints, they did a fake punt. Mike Zimmer never did that stuff. That is what we want to see, baby.
Yeah, and the Vikings have some of the best culture in the league. They have a great report when it comes to how they treat their players. I mean, there was that poll that came out last year.
Yeah.
About how the Vikings have, the nicest organization in the league. And I think that goes to show just how much the players are going to buy in, and I feel like that goes underrated in the NFL nowadays.
Yeah.
You look at players for, what they do.
They crave structure.
About Dak's pick, which are debatable, and Dak, the questionable player that kind of stuck. But, no, I'm kidding. Yeah. But when it comes to that sort of stuff, we look at these players for their stats and everything, and we don't realize how much of a team game football actually is, how much, getting along with your team can actually take you far. I think the Vikings have some of the best relationships in the league. Granted, I am biased, but
we're biased. We're Viking fans, everyone. So yeah.
No, culture. Hayden's right. Culture is really important. You look at, for example, the Cardinals. They suck. Their culture is horrible. They don't let their players take food home for free. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
One thing too is Mohamed said that he doesn't think Kirk's going to be as good as he was last year. Didn't you say that?
Yeah, I agree.
I think that's going to be the opposite. I think he's going to be just as good. I don't think he's going to get hit as much, and he has a target on his back. He doesn't have a contract. He's playing for one. I think year 2. Year 2 with the same people. I think this might have some big improvements for him. Maybe not big improvements, but just more consistency, especially if he's not getting those hits that he was taking last year.
Yeah.
I just thought he was really, really good last year. I think it would be slightly.
Yeah.
We'll have to see.
So, yeah.
We can come back.
Yeah. Moving on to the South, the NFC South, I should say.
This division is
I have the Panthers because here's the thing. One, it's because my roommate is a Panthers fan. Shout out to Garrett. Garrett, I got you, man. And and the reason why I can't trust the Falcons is because of this. Every time we think this is the year they do something, this is what they're finally going to break out of their ways, they end up relapsing and then they're choking every game again. It's like, God, why? Be normal. Be normal. It's like ever since 28-3, man, this team's cursed. This team is legitimately cursed. So
I know what you're saying, but here's the thing. In a division with no talent, well, not no talent, there's some teams with talent, but the Falcons have 3 of the best offensive skill players in that division: Bijan, Kyle Pitts, and Drake London. Those 3 can feed off each other and have the Falcons in the top tier of offensive teams. Now, I won't say in the league, but definitely in the NFC and especially in their division. Because you look around, you got Baker Mayfield, Derek Carr, and Bryce Young. Desmond Ritter's not this and that, but he can be a good designated handoffer to Bijan, to Algier, and shit, if they hand the ball off to Kyle Pitts, I wouldn't even be mad, you just got to get those players.
You also got to remember they got Cordero Patterson.
Right, yeah, I forgot about him. And, yeah, their special teams with him is elevated. They got a decent defense. They got Jesse Bates this offseason, who's huge. They got Terrell. They got Jeff Okudah and Mike Hughes, who were first-round picks at one point. Now, Mike Hughes is more removed than Jeff Okudah, but Jeff Okudah has been – he played a part in locking down Justin Jefferson.
Mm-hmm.
So I think the Falcons have a good year out of them. I'm excited to watch. I'm drafting Bijan as much as I can. I love the Falcons this year.
Yeah.
I think they take their division. I think they win their playoff game.
I think the reason why I did the Panthers was not more the offense, but more the defense, because like that's a team that's got some gems on it. You know, Brian Burns. They have the C.J. Anderson, the guy they picked up. You know, they have J.C. Horn, who's going to be trying to look to bounce back. You know, they have a lot of great talent on the defensive side, so that's kind of what I'm looking at.
Don't forget about Frankie Louvu.
Yep.
Please.
Yep. So, yeah. And then Saints, here's the thing. Like, quarterback wasn't your issue, yet you got a ton for Derek. You signed Derek Carr to another big deal. And then it also doesn't fix, you know, Michael Thomas being made of glass, Alvin Kamara's future with the team, and Cam Jordan can't keeping his mouth shut. Just want to say, Cam, Kirk lives rent-free in your head, baby. All right?
Yeah,
But yeah, otherwise, like, I feel like the thing is the Saints really need to strip it down, but don't want to admit to it. That's my thing with
100%.
them. And then
but I still think that
the Bucks, you know, like, here's the thing with the Bucks. It's just kind of like I feel like they're kind of punting this year because like Brady's gone, and now it's like, well, we got a Super Bowl. We're gonna try and start over a bit. So,
yeah. I think one thing going back to the Saints, and this might be kind of a hot take, but I think this year Chris Olave will cement himself as the best player in that division.
Oh,
Chris Olave
I can agree with
had
that.
an amazing rookie year. There was not a game he had under 50 yards, 40 yards receiving, 40 or 50. And that might not seem like a lot, but that shit adds up. And that's hard to do in this league, especially as a rookie. You know, not even Jefferson did that last year.
Mm-hmm.
So Chris Olave's got a lot of skill, a lot of room to improve, and I think he cements himself as the best player in this division and a top 10 receiver.
Yeah. So. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it goes Falcons, Panthers, Saints, Bucks. If I had to shoot something out.
Yeah, that's probably the ideal one. So yeah. Moving over to the West. For me, I think it's pretty cut and dry. I have Niners winning that just because like I feel like they're fully loaded and looking to go back. Seahawks, like I have them in a wild card just because I think they got some nice pieces for the defense and they look to be on the upswing after trading Russ. So yeah, Rams, they said screw them picks, and then those picks screwed them back, and they're probably stuck for the long haul, baby. At least at least you kind of got a ring out of it. That's the best. Yep. And then Cardinals, draft pick city, baby. Woo!
Yeah.
Because that team,
they have one of the worst outlooks for this football season. But in the offseason, I'm following the Cardinals, dude.
Oh, yeah, dude.
They got the Texans' first-round pick this year.
Mm-hmm.
Dude, they could end up with Caleb Williams and Marvin Harrison Jr.
Do you really think
that's exciting?
Okay, do you think that this team drafts Caleb Williams after extending Kyler Murray? That's the $1 million.
Yeah, because somebody will trade for Kyler, even if it's for 2 first-round picks, a first and a second, something. I think they will.
Even if they believe that Kyler's the answer and they get the number 1 pick like they should, someone is going to give a massive haul for Caleb Williams.
that is true. True, because like I think the Panthers set that tone last year when the Bears had the pick, which is why they gave up that much for Bryce. So,
yeah. And I gotta say, on the Caleb Williams topic, shout out to my homie Mikey, because he made this comparison first. But Caleb Williams is the closest thing we have to Mahomes in the football world. So
that is a bit of a warm take, but okay.
Yeah. Yeah, I think if you watch him play, he watches Mahomes tape. He plays like him. He runs around. He's the playmaker. He's an improviser. I think Caleb Williams has the chance to be somebody special. Mm-hmm. Granted, he might not be in the same situation as Mahomes because you can't all get drafted to Andy Reid.
Yeah.
But Jonathan Gannon, granted, he's a defensive coach. Mm-hmm. He seems to be actually changing the culture there.
Yeah, because I feel like
shit seriously.
Here's the thing with what happened with the Cardinals. I feel they had just Cliff Kingsbury was one of those guys who knew Sean McVay and was a college coach who failed miserably, essentially, just because like it was like the not just the relationship with Kyler, but it's like his quote unquote air raid offense was just it doesn't work in the NFL, man. You know, it may work in college, but not the NFL.
Patrick Mahomes in college, and people didn't be like, "Wow, Patrick Mahomes is clearly the number one player in the draft."
Exactly.
And the moment we saw him in the league, everyone's like, "Wow, this guy's clearly going to be the best quarterback in the league."
Yep.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So
the Cardinals were in for a rough year. The Rams are in for a rough year.
Yeah.
The 49ers are contenders, I think, by default in the NFC. The NFC is weak.
Seahawks are a dark horse. You know, I put Seahawks as a dark horse just because if Geno Smith can really contain the level that he showed last year after, you know, nearly being ruined, I think they definitely could make some noise because Pete Carroll's been a guy who's coached some big games. So, you know.
Yeah, and I want to say this, their skill position group rivals the 49ers.
Yeah.
They got Ken Walker. They got Zach Charbonnet. They got Jackson Smith and Jigba in the draft. Tyler Lockett, DK. Like, they got some dudes.
They can probably keep up with them. They're going to be able to keep up with them. So
they can keep
They're
up.
Just a good team, good offense, good defense, good coaching.
Mm-hmm.
I think I have them as a wild card team pretty easy. I think they'll be one of the best offenses.
Yeah. Because I think...
What do you guys think?
Yeah. Oh, go ahead, Mo.
I was just going to go back to the Niners just because I'm really interested in, like, the Trey Lance whole thing about Trey Lance. Because if you're hearing, you guys have been hearing stuff in camp.
Here's my thing.
About, like,
I think realistically, it's going to come down to the end of preseason. But I think realistically, like, you either you're going to start. You got to start Lance at first because here's the thing: you moved a ton of draft capital to get him.
Yeah.
And, like, here's the thing. If Lance is not working, then you can go back to Purdy, who, well, I mean, here's the thing. While he was phenomenal last year, I still have that thing about him because, like, there's a reason he was Mr. Irrelevant. And, like, once they get tape on you, you kind of can sort of become predictable. So, and Sam Darnold, I'm not just buying whatsoever. Like, yes, he was ruined by the Jets and probably was not given a good situation in Carolina. But still, it's like, dude, it's Sam Darnold, Mr. I'm seeing ghosts. So, yeah.
Here's the thing, though. I think from a rebuilding / like middle tier team, you go with the philosophy that you invested heavily in this dude. But I think if you're the 49ers, you got to go with Darnold or you got to go with Purdy because that style of quarterback won them games last year. Trey Lance did not look like he fit in Kyle Shanahan's offense somehow. He just didn't work. Like, the design runs for him were not what the 49ers need with their group of talent. So I think if you're the 49ers, you got to cut your losses with Lance now. Yeah. And that sucks to say because Minnesota kid, like, he was a top 3 pick for a reason, you know?
One thing I could see is, like, if he does get cut, I would see Minnesota picking him up just because, like, realistically, we have no plan B for Cousins. If maybe O'Connell can see, like, kick the tires on him, maybe figure out, can he use him? And then we can go from there.
Oh, yeah.
So
he's got a lot of potential. I don't think he gets cut. I just mean...
Yeah, he doesn't get, like, thrown out the league or, like, go to like, the XFL or USFL, so...
Right, but he's got some trade value. They could get something out of him, it's probably going to have to be picked because no player-for-player trades really happen.
Yeah, and you're not getting firsts. So, you might get, like, third and fourths. That's about it.
Right, but he still holds some value, and I think the Niners got to take what they can get right now before it turns into fifths and sixths.
Mm-hmm. Piggybacking off of Hayden's point about middle tier sort of tanking teams, they can sort of persist with those guys that are struggling. The Niners, those picks, you have to forget about it because they're gone now. Next year they have their pick again. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So whatever they did for Lance, they gave up for Lance, it's gone now. Whether he works or not, it doesn't matter now. You hear I'm just listening to the players last year, from Trent Williams to all the guys in the locker room, like the way they talk about Brock Purdy. I never heard them talk about Trey Lance like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And the way Kyle talks about Brock Purdy, and just the way they talk about Trey Lance, it just doesn't sound good. You know what I mean?
I think realistically,
he knows what the hell to do when he has the ball.
Yeah.
It's why Kyle, I think, wanted to draft Mac Jones, for all being honest. I think he got top. I think
realistically, yeah, I was kind of going to piggyback. I think realistically, like, Shanahan's offense, it's not meant for, like, you know, a mobile quarterback like, you know, a Justin Fields or like one of the guys who was, like, scrambling around the pocket. I think it's meant for, like, someone like a Brady or like someone who's more heavy in who like just kind of like sits in the pocket and doesn't like move around a ton, you know.
Well, Matt Ryan, that was his greatest offense, you know.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's what a lot of people envisioned with someone like Mac Jones if they were to draft him. Yeah. But I think they saw Trey Lance potentially like, okay, what if we can get someone that can do those fundamentals that has elite athleticism? Yeah. But I just don't think. I think they got Trey Lance in the building is like, well, he doesn't have that elite athleticism like a Justin Fields, for example. Like he's not as fast. From what I saw from the game, seeing him escape, not as fast as I thought he was coming out of college.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
His improvising ability would be better used elsewhere because the improvising does come from a spot where, the play might be there, but in Shanahan's offense, you just got to take what the defense gives you, and sometimes you just got to trust. And I don't think Lance has that trust in him that guys like Darnold and Purdy will be able to just say, you know what, fuck it. You know, Trey Lance wants to make something big happen, and he doesn't want to take those risks. He knows he can make plays on his feet, which doesn't fully utilize guys like Kittle or Debo or Ayuk or McCaffrey, and the whole lot.
Yeah,
I feel bad because I think he just needs reps. He didn't play the COVID year. He didn't play his rookie year. Last year gets injured. Second game, like he just needs reps. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but it definitely.
Send him to the fucking Falcons. Let's go. Let's run it.
Yeah. All right. Anyway, that's about all the time I think we have. Any final words before we wrap up this episode, boys?
Cowboys are making the Super Bowl, ladies and gentlemen. You heard it here first.
They're the Cowgirls, and you know it. All right.
The Falcons will make their name in this league. They will make it to the divisional round. Well, they will lose to the Vikings. The Vikings will smash the Eagles 38-7 in U.S. Bank Stadium before carrying on to make the Super Bowl against the Jaguars like it should have been before we got that shitty Super Bowl.
The only thing I will say before we close this out, the Vikings are going to the Super Bowl!
Yeah, dude. I have no fucking idea what you just said, but that was hype.
Roll Mavs!
Yeah, roll Mavs, baby. Thank you, everyone, for watching, and we will see you guys next time. Peace!